Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. In case you missed out, KT Rolster able to close out game at number 1 there over Jin Air. Was a bit slower paced as we finished at 42 minutes on the dot. But yeah, they walk away with the victory in the end. Just kind of had to wait out Jin Air for a while.
Yeah, the 4:20 game time there, not necessarily as endemic of excitement. SoHwan was a bit of a slobber knocker, went on and on, unfortunately, because Toronto was so strong that KT had to respect it at every moment. So it extended until Mada made some nice initiations, maybe enough to win him the MVP. There it is.
Yep, there you go, have it. 2, 3, and 12. 100% kill participation there with the Alistar. Some crazy moves that we saw out of the bot lane there with he and Deft escaping what looked like certain death. And I mean, he was the one who really just allowed for KT to surge forward, getting the pick onto Grace leader into the game.
I mean, 100% kill participation means that he was involved in everything that KT Rolster were doing. Nice laning phase, and KT having Deft and Mada winning bot lane was so important after top lane had died 3 times in the first 7 minutes of the game. Became irrelevant as the game went on just because there was low initiation from Jin Air outside of the Ornn. You're seeing the replay here. It's when everyone was trying to get bot side to try to take down this dastardly duo. They were too strong, Flash saved until it got him out. KT lasting so long, winning so strongly in bot side despite what happened in other parts of the map was the reason they could stay so competitive when they were behind in gold for the majority of the first 25 minutes.
Yep. Just great lockdown, Mada consistently having those beautiful headbutts, just keeping the members of Jin Air into the fight. This is not the best one. I mean, Mada gets out with his life here at the end, but I believe this is where they lose Smeb.
He goes golden, but means little. The reinitiation here on low health was a team play to try to get down Grace, who died a few times towards the tail end of the game. A lot of engagements in mid side that weren't really going decisively one way or the other. That's the MVP for Mada, just seeing him waste Teddy's time, finally use his stopwatch very late into the game. This is where Deft and UmTi traded their lives and Grace got in there. But the good news for Grace stopped at this team fight. Next replay will show you a moment where Mada won the game. Do you know what? I told you a lie. That's later. But one of these times they could pick down Grace. That was so important for them. Here's where the game was won. Righteous Glory flashed into the Pulverize. Grace died. They took Baron. And from there, KT Rolster were able to close out the game. So credit to Mada. Last play there being the MVP one. And now we move to game 2.
Pressure on here for Jin Air. After such a strong start, need to have the bottom lane perform a bit better. This is not exactly where I expected the lopsidedness for Jin Air to be in this series. I was expecting perhaps Pawn to kind of take away the mid lane there, or Smeb to command SoHwan up top, but it was Teddy and Wraith struggling against Deft and Mada that really allowed KT to sink their claws in and just hold on and wait out Jin Air. So we'll see if Jin Air can fire back, put a win on the board to take us to game number 3 as we enter into the draft here for game number 2. Rise is going to be the first thing taken off the board.
No substitutions on either side, so the kind boy once again remains just dastardly meters away from being able to enter the booth.
UCal, you mean, right?
That's right. Yeah, the kindest of boys.
He's the kindest of boys.
He seems really nice. I haven't had a conversation with him yet. Looking at the picks and bans, KT not interested in Teddy. Jumping onto the Kalista, was playing that in his last series, after not playing at all this season, so enough to already command some respect, and maybe KT, respecting the fact that Teddy could pop off in this game, could further reduce the AD carry pool. Sejuani still available for the first round of picks, and Jin Air saying, hey, Pawn had some comfort in the mid lane in game 1. Not going to be banning the Galio just yet. Galio lasting quite a long way through, as if Galio or Sejuani is not banned on blue side, there may be a trade or a first pick for Jin Air GreenWings.
Well, Vladimir, second one there from KT. I don't want that on the board again. And we will see Galio taken away as well here by Jin Air. So pretty similar bans, just going to be swapping out the Malzahar for the Azir this time around.
But do you ban Sejuani or Grace's Zoe is the question that might be pondered here. Sejuani would be my first thought because we've seen some playstyles to actually try and shut down the Zoe. What is Pawn going to say about this? They're waiting to the last moments. A lot of disagreements here about how to approach. They ban away the Azir, so they're actually going to leave Zoe up and potentially be a new matchup into the Zoe here coming through. If it's to be first picked by Jin Air, Grace would certainly love it, but Sejuani for UmTi is also another power pick. Hasn't been winning them games, but he has looked good on it in a vacuum. So, see the disagreements there on the Jin Air side as well when it comes to those two. Oh. They do end up prizing the Zoe above the Sejuani.
Okay, yeah, they'll go straight for it. Locking that one in, so very likely to see the Sedge just coming through here.
Ezreal Sejuani was what you'd be expecting.
Powerhouse picks right there.
And then Kha'Zix something on the side of Jin Air, you would have to think. When it comes to best AD carry available, still there's the Kog'Maw if we want to see Teddy go that route. He hasn't been opting into Kog'Maw this season, and the Varus would be a bit more lane strength. So I could see definitely something like Kha'Zix and Varus, unless they want to move away from the Kha'Zix. They've been taking basically first rotation whenever it's been available. And here's some disagreement on it. Ezreal versus Vayne has always been that Vayne skill lane.
Okay.
They're going to take the Vayne again, 1-1, but the last performance, definitely one that commanded a lot of respect. Surprising AD carry pick, but it is Teddy. Teddy's Vayne.
I mean, he shattered the damage charts with that Vayne and said, you know, if you want to play Vayne, just tumble forward. And you kill people. That was his advice. It was very Korean advice from Teddy there, but we'll see if he can have success with that pick, because tumbling forward into a Sejuani doesn't sound great, but we're actually going to see the Jags taken away here, as the Sejuani's already there for score, so we'll see that potentially for UmTi in the jungle.
And then a return to Taliyah, this time by Pawn, to try to dodge lane against the Zoe. So the Jax is the one we should talk about, because Kha'Zix will go unpicked and unbanned for the first time in a Jin Air series in this particular game. And the reason for that is probably to find space for the Vayne. Vayne and Kha'Zix would be two threats that can be trained down by, say, a Sejuani ultimate or a round of damage from Ezreal or Taliyah, whereas Jax a lot more sticky, takes a lot longer to die, is very flexible with his gap close and his different clear options. Is going for a bit more teamfight focus rather than the early snowball, respecting the Sejuani. So they do look past the Kha'Zix the first time in a while. And now KT Rolster might actually be looking for some orange support of their own when you see a Braum ban, and Mada already has an MVP on orange support.
Taking their time with this one. Let's see what the final is going to be. Ornn Braum already eliminated. Perhaps something from the top lane. So you take it off the board. Gnar still on the board, but it's actually going to be Taric. So double support bans here by KT.
Ezreal Alistar's been a favorite of a lot of bot lanes and may just be considered here for KT Rolster now that the Ornn has been answered. A lot of support bans already. Tahm Kench, in terms of power levels, one of the few ones left over at this point. You wonder if Mada would ever look for a Leona to try to go Vayne hunting. The Jace ban suggesting that Jin Air would like to play some more Gnar. So here's the question mark. Do you want the Alistar? The answer seems to be no. So in this scenario, if they're happy for Alistar or Tahm Kench, you could definitely see there being a draft of the Gnar here from KT. Smeb has been dealing with Gnars all season, and they want to answer the Zoe. Just have another champion who can use the Devour to try to trivialize the power of the Trouble Bubble. So we'll go for the Tahm Kench. Still Alistar available if Jin Air wants it. But they might be considering other options here.
All right, yeah, the Shen, something that we've seen banned away a multitude of times, picked every now and there. Could just see the Shen come through, and that's going to be a flex pick for support or bot lane.
The Gangplank also the Gangplank also available. Shen could still be taken. I'm very interested to see what support they take. Vayne's lane presence isn't the strongest, so you'd think something with lane presence here would be smart. So blind pick Gangplank against Smeb can be risky. Wonder if he'll just go into the Gnar, if we'll see something new from Smeb, who has been operating on a different champion pool than most in this particular meta. Less carries than you'd imagine when Khan's walking around killing everyone.
There's the Alistar you were talking about. Does get locked in here for Wraith. GP up top. So not the tankiest front line here for Jin Air. Alistar going to have to rely on that ultimate to very widely keep him in these team fights, but the Jax here for UmTi very likely going to have to go a bit tankier out of the jungle.
Sure, people are calling for a Riven pick here, but that would be surprising given the rest of the draft. It wouldn't fit in as cleanly. It's still a possibility with Smeb, but he's going to go for the standard compositional pick when you already saw the Sejuani. It wasn't like Kingzone's draft where they heavily banned engage and then went for the Riven to really force a 1-3-1 or 4-1 situation So it's going to be Gnar against Gangplank, which so far has been tending a little bit more towards evenness, which does favor the Gangplank, all things considered. Jin Air does have good pick CC from the mid lane, the bot lane, and the jungle. So Vayne and Gangplank is a lot of scaling damage, and Zoe scales insanely as well. But KT, probably going to be fleet footwork on the Sejuani. Taliyah, let's see if the Weaver's walls can be on point this time from Pawn. KT really want to do a lot of stuff early game, pre-2 items for Jin Air. That's probably where KT have the biggest inroads towards growing a golden.
Definitely expect Pawn to be a bit more proactive with those Weaver's walls, trying to make plays around the map. We'll see if he can get things started as early as we saw from Jin Air in the last game, going for those level 3s. Gonna try to lock somebody down. Wouldn't have too much escapes for the Gangplank there in the top lane. So we'll see if that is going to be a point of contention there for KT early on. But Zoe here yet again for Grace had quite the day out versus Kongdu Monster. Picked up a triple kill. We'll see if he can replicate that performance here now.
Yeah, a 14-minute ace in that game is something KT would certainly like to avoid. Some safety here, but pretty even draft going into game 2.
All right, here we go, ladies and gentlemen. Let's see if Jin Air can tie up this series, take us to game number 3, or if we're going to have another 2-0 here for KT Rolster as we load onto the Rift. KT looking to close it out nice and easy. Let's see if they can pull it off.
소환사의 협곡에 오신 것을 환영합니다.
Already. CS advantage to Deft. Takes out the ward.
Call it now, it's done.
Game's over. Ezreal ahead in 2018.
Well, the Vayne certainly doesn't feel too great about the fact that the red side is being jungled here. As much information as possible on UmTi's jungle start. Haven't had confirmation yet of the keystone for score, but last time we saw him play, it was on the fleet footwork for a bit faster of an early clear and the ability to tussle and do some battle warding of his own, even on the Sejuani. Any predictability on the Jax will be welcomed, and Jax responds to the deep vision by looking for a topside start from SoHwan fans in the audience.
Certainly has earned them so far this season, you would have to say. Like
yeah,
you said, has very much improved in that top lane.
First time he's ever been a starter with no substitute top laner. Ixu and he splitting time in the past, but has definitely lived up to the starter billing and looked very powerful. Again, wonderful Gnar ultimate in their last game to win game 2 against Kongdu Monster. Game 1, the numbers are, not going to be the biggest. Smeb did more DPM. That shows you that the numbers can be quite misleading.
Trundle mostly just trying to split push, knock down those structures. So didn't have as much skirmish opportunities as he would have liked. Skirmishing. It's going to have a bit of back and forth here. This is actually a bot lane that we might be interested in watching this time around, Papa Smithy. Usually it's a bit Resident Sleeper, but this is going to be a little bit more PogChamp potential.
A lot of outplay from Vayne Alistair. Alistair's one of the few supports who can actually have some threat onto the Tahm Kench. If he can buffer his E during the duration of the Devour. Well, welcome to the lane, SoHwan, says Smeb.
Yeah.
And then Vayne also, the outplay queen. So between the two, there is the potential for things to happen, but the 2v2 very rarely does lead to too much action and should be at least 3 relic shields. I didn't actually see if Deft started the Doran Blade, which was Teddy's favorite on the Ezreal recently. We'll get that confirmation soon.
UmTi trying to take the blue buff, and here's going to be that level 3 roam that I was talking about.
Jin Air can do. They wait for the grouped wave. They look for the turret dive. They go in earlier. But, well, let's see how SoHwan's dancing shoes are.
Yeah, that's going to be the ward coming down. SoHwan going to flash to the side. Goes low, and he'll get taken down. First blood moves over to score. UmTi arrives, trying to trade one back, but it's not quite going to happen. So free first blood goes over to KT. Great roam.
Because we didn't see a bot lane start, we should talk about how this all happened. Hellbot coming straight back into lane, but the rest of KT backing off. Because of the red buff ward, it wasn't free for UmTi to path red to blue to Gromp and be there for a counter gank. Instead, he started the blue buff, which is the correct call to not give exact timings to the enemy team or to make yourself slightly more unpredictable, but it made the turret dive for KT predictable. So from level 1, the plan was to emulate Jin Air for the turret dive. The ward forward and the invade really got them the extra information they needed. So clean stuff from KT. Great macro to start off the game.
What they lacked in game number 1, they're making up for it right here. Teddy slipping slightly behind Deft as far as the CS is concerned, but keeping no summoners have been blown, no one has died. I think he's going to be quite happy with this so far here with the Vayne. Double relic shield on both sides. So just going to be trading that gold back and forth.
Yeah, a bit more passive than recent Ezreals, like I mentioned, were looking to Doran Blade and tried to punish from level 1. Probably not going to be the biggest thing to talk about. Watch this game. Timing's going to be so important here for KT. It will be big swaths of the mid-game especially where KT have earlier power spikes than that of Jin Air. Only a huge trouble bubble can answer that. That's a nice headbutt pulverize.
Yeah, it does get him, but it's just going to be the Devourer there from Mata right away. Deft does take a little bit of damage, knocked down to about half HP, but given the amount of consumables that he'll be picking up from the Kleptomancy, it's hardly worth mentioning. Already the health potions rolling through.
Yeah, those nerfs towards the Kleptomancy drop rate aren't applied in 8.1, which we're on this week. I have to keep mentioning it because when we start rolling into other regions, they will all be on 8.2. So NA and EULCS most prominently will be in the future, and maybe we'll see some things shut down. As speaking of shutdowns,
up top is going to be the counter-strike there. UmTi already using the leap strike, flashes in, gets the stun in on Pawn as Grace does arrive. Triple bubble not going to connect, goes in onto the Wolf and Pawn. He's going to be in a bad spot. Big shove does knock UmTi away, flashes away from Grace, but he is just going to get picked off here as Grace does find the kill. So another aggressive roam looking for that top lane pick onto the GP, gets turned around by Jin Air.
This one was a bit straightforward for Jin Air to deal with. Nice counter roam coming through. The moment that Jax walked up, you would think that they would abandon ship, but they continued to invest. They tried to turn, even after the first paddle star went down. It wasn't going to be enough to halt the invade in its tracks, and that means that Jin Air actually gets something ahead in the blue side jungle that at this point should be owned by KT. They have 3 control wards in the area invested for vision control, and yet give up a free kill to Jin Air. That's the mistake that goes against the smart setup that got them first blood.
So Mata and Deft probably thinking right now, I guess we have to be the ones to carry this one home yet again. Survive the laning phase, make sure that Teddy and Wraith don't get much of an advantage here. Try to transition that into a win. Unlash comes through, Mata taking just a little bit of damage, but Teddy, as you might expect, is more interested in clearing out the minions, trying to stay as close to Deft as he possibly can with this Vayne. At the moment, just going to be down about 6 as he starts pushing in towards that turret.
Because of back timings, there's really no way to abuse the Ezreal. Is going to come back with Tear Sheen and also the red pot. So he comes in, he's going to have the trading advantage, especially if he's hitting his Mystic shots. So no shot from Vayne to really answer what Deft is going to be doing in lane. So can they grow a lead? Can they play around the lane pressure in bot lane, as we have the 280 carries who, short of the Ezreal ultimate, have very little ability to push lanes. Should be very predictable and methodical to actually get the push going on the bot side. Things like the minion dematerializer from Wraith could be very powerful in that regard.
Perfect timing there for Mata.
And he was able to get the freeze pretty deep on the side of KT. A couple melee minions going to push in, but lane spot very safe for the back coming through from the Tahm Kench.
Very nicely done. Infernal Drake sitting on the rift right here. Hasn't been targeted out by anybody yet. KT were able to come up with that second kill in the top lane. If that roam had worked out, likely would have seen them try to go for that objective early on, but for now, we'll just be slowing things down.
What do we make of it? If we're KT Rolster, a lot of the vision around top sides being cleared out, only a control ward around the Gangplank for the top lane entrance there for KT Rolster. Probably going to see the vision largely move to the bot side, but no start on the Drake unless they can get a pretty significant chunk or zone out Teddy and Wraith from the bot side. Because of the freeze, Teddy was just taking some Krugs, had spare time, and couldn't go that far up the lane when they had no vision on when Sejuani was. We know that Sejuani was low on mana, but information not available to Jin Air, so respectful play from Teddy and Wraith.
shot barrage there coming out to continue pushing in.
Speaking of pushing in, Zoe clearing in the face of Taliyah.
Really aggressive there. That's going to be Deft taking that turret aggro. The Devourer is there. Helps keep him healthy and alive as he just keeps firing away with the Mystic shots, chunking Wraith and Teddy down.
Level 5 on the Owl, so that's why they went aggressive. They had the level lead, but that lead is now answered by Wraith. And in the meantime, UmTi was able to steal away the red buff after a good poke from Grace. So a lot happening across the map, but not the chain feeding like we saw in Game 1.
KT happy to not be on the receiving end of that yet again. And you can see Deft and Mana just really ruling the lane at the moment. Nothing that Teddy and Wraith can do.
That's Mystic shot accuracy has always been something he's been heavily complimented for. It's going to make Teddy and Alistar, Teddy and Wraith, their laning phase very painful. Alistar, unless he's engaging, doesn't offer a lot. Doesn't have the map control to go for the WQ into buffering the E stun onto the devoured target after it's spit out. You need a lot of time to make those plays. You need a lot of vision of the enemy team, and right now around bot side, Jin Air have neither of those things.
Well, that's going to be the headbutt pulverize, but the arcane shift comes through. Deft just getting that cheeky little sidestep in time, keeps himself safe.
Watching score here, pass over a control ward. So again,
Will he check it?
vision available to the side of Jin Air. The answer is no. Gonna walk up.
He's waiting outside of vision.
This is very smart from Jin Air, and the research here is great. Do not see Jax, as you can see. This is toggled vision for KT.
Seems like they're still just going to go ahead and peel back. Smeb nowhere near transforming. Looks like he's exhausted at the moment, so going for a dive without the Mega Gnar ready to go would be potentially ill-advised. But now they're going to be drawing up pawns, so it seems like they might still be looking for this.
He still has not seen UmTi, who's doing some real good vision hugging. I think he sees him now.
Yeah, should spot him out. Yeah. So he decides, screw it, I'm just going to push up to the turret so they don't even attempt to go for the dive just in case one of us gets taken out. Double pulverize coming through there from Wraith, and it's a nice little trade there onto Deft, does Teddy. For that final hit through Silver Bolt, but can't quite get the third.
That's a BF sword, and Deft has been opting into a lot of tumble trades, so not actually winning the trades as hard as you might imagine. Sorcery on Deft here, so could be the Gathering Storm, which has been a favorite both for Jin Air and against Jin Air, famously, with the long game times. Would have paid off a lot in Game 1, because it went 40 minutes, that's when the rune really starts to get a lot of value. While they haven't been able to kill the turret, which is why we saw Score and Pawn so heavily around the top side, they were able to get it low. They get the Rift Herald, and this instant pop on the Rift Herald saying, well, let's end the laning phase right now.
Yep, just going to go ahead and finish off the turret with the charge alone. Score clears out the vision. Just trying to accelerate. UmTi here, not comfortable going for the Infernal Drake, even with seeing Score around the top side of the map.
They're still desperate to have forward vision. The first recall was actually to KT, so they knew that the Tahm, Kench, and the Ezreal could be there, Abyssal Voyage in, and potentially answer. It wouldn't have been free. There wasn't enough time to solo it, and his bot lane wasn't there to react. So just a free objective to the side of KT. Nicely done. Punishing the scaling that we've already spent a lot of time setting up in Champ Select. It's already been drafted by Jin Air.
Teddy for the moment here alone underneath the turret. He's subject to a bit of poke here as he tumbles into the Mystic Shot. Shot barrage comes through, clips the first few of the wave. Big hit in on the pawn as that Paddle Star starts ripping into him, looking for the other one.
Would have killed him probably there.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Tries to get the jump forward, but doesn't quite have it. And again, but Pulverize coming through, but the Devourer there to answer.
Headbutt pulvering the wave as well, which is delaying any auto attacks onto the turret, so maximum value from his spell rotation there by Wraith. He'll do that every time it's off cooldown if he needs to.
As long as the mana lasts.
Score coming for the lane gank. Sejuani ult available. Both teams going to be baiting. See what happens here.
See who has the true jump. Score waiting in the brush. Still have vision on Teddy and Wraith. Score holding. Finger on the trigger for that ultimate. UmTi channeling the recall. Will go ahead and stop it. Jump forward. Deft's going to get popped up. The Devourer comes through. They got to get the lockdown straight in onto Teddy. And he is going to get popped by the look of it. One more hit. No, flashes over the wall. Keeps himself alive. Deft still skirting around the sides of the fight. Now turns in onto Wraith. They lock him in with the Sejuani passive. trying to get the kill.
Teddy?
True shot barrage. Teddy does tumble to the side, keeps himself alive, and now Pawn is joining in the fray. Pop-up comes through, first kill going over to UmTi as he finishes off score. Wraith will fall as Pawn tries to finish off the Jax. One more hit would do it. There you go. Deft able to take him down. That'll be the turret as well, going over to KT. 2 for 1 plus the turret, but a hard-fought win.
Yeah, hardly clean, but definitely effective from KT, who will take the turret as well after all of this. Smeb had roamed down to stop Grace from getting a push in the mid side. The only advantage that actually comes to Jin Air is free farm for SoHwan, desperately want to catch up in minions. The minimap, I think, tells a lot of story here. Score getting the ultimate onto Teddy, you would have thought would have been first blood. That doesn't happen. We watched this bot side already. Let's talk about what's happening on the minimap. Taliyah will always roam down first. Because Gnar had so early roam, they already had the turret top side, he was able to keep Zoe in lane. Zoe never got to bot to try to turn this around. Outnumbered means that Jin Air do pick up the kills. Teddy escapes with his life, but the turret and his teammates aren't so fortunate. So KT still get the assertive play they drafted for, successfully done pre-15 minutes.
Very nicely done there by KT. 3-2 though, not a stark difference as far as that is concerned, but they are finding themselves to be a couple thousand gold ahead, 3K just about here at the moment.
Soon to be an Infernal, you'd have to imagine.
Yeah, they have so much control around the pit at the moment, so take some serious work by Jin Air to push in, or maybe even to try to steal this, but with UmTi up around the Wolves at the moment, seems like this is just going to be a free take here for KT.
Well, the Jax for team comp makes a lot of sense when you think of a 5v5 phase. The passivity of Jin Air in basically every role suggests to me that we may never get that 5v5 phase at Kilios. Right now, UmTi's had to be on the back foot because he's had lanes that were losing, outroamed by Pawn and Score on the enemy side.
Couple bubble there for Grace, but the body block for Mata, fully prepared to take that paddle star to the face if he has to.
We saw game one where with the Taliyah draft, at least Jin Air was strong somewhere. Here in this game, they're not really strong anywhere. Zoe can do some damage in mid lane, but predictably, SoHwan has lost his turret early, and the bot side, a nice roam from the Taliyah means the bot lane turret went down as well. Now they're piling in mid side. Nice burst onto Deft. May delay mid lane turret going down, but Jin Air desperately need extra time because KT owns Summoner's Rift.
Well, very powerful clearing out the minions here is Jin Air, so hold on to what they can. I'm trying to get the trade there on the Smeb, but he's just keeps skirting right outside of the range of those barrels, making sure that he can't get poked down. Just trying to be as annoying and oppressive to that GP as he possibly can be, and showing through with the CS. He finds himself at 180, but pulverized there from Wraith. Gets knocked down to about half HP. Score arrives, pops him with the ultimate. He'll get locked in. Now Smeb coming in from the backside, pushes Teddy in, gets the wall up. The seismic shove from Pawn. They'll take him down. 3 members instantly dead on the side of Jin Air as KT now just have to wait for the wave in order to knock down this turret.
When KT has the proactivity and the early game goes their way, they're so good at playing them out. That's the counterpoint to Jin Air in game one. As they set up around mid lane, Taliyah pushed down bot as Weaver's ward come up. Score had cleared all the vision and put down control wards in the enemy red side jungle. They were always going to be able to cut aggressively. 2 people flank Teddy, who will wonder how they could both get there first. But Jin Air continued to be pushed back. KT continued to take over the map. KT tried to sacrifice the minimum in game one, even with a top laner who couldn't respond. In this game, Jin Air's kind of sacrificing at every moment, and KT's greedy. They're just taking more.
Jin Air. I mean, what do you really do if you're Jin Air at this point? Just try to hold out until 40 minutes for the Vayne to start popping off?
You don't do anything. You're told what to do. There's no freedom here. It's it's stolen.
From downtown, Deft all the way back in the bases. Thank you very much for the leash, good sir. I'll take that one.
Fate has been removed from Jin Air. They sacrificed too much, and when you still need items, I mean, Vayne's got nothing. BF Sword and Zeal isn't going to do anything compared to 2.5 items from Pawn. SoHwan has a Trinity Force, doesn't have anything tankiness or damage at this point. They have control of nothing. At least with the Kha'Zix, while it didn't necessarily make sense for team fights, he could try to tussle with the Sejuani. Instead, it ended up being a farming jungler, and the end result is, to answer your question, they don't do anything. They look for a mistake. They need a pretty big mistake here from KT Rolster, who are immensely ahead at 18 minutes, even more than the 6,000 gold and Infernal Drake might show.
Well, rough times to be a Jin Air fan. Seems like the Glad plane, the Teddy plane, whichever you want, might not be flying here today. So I'm trying to get the steal onto the Gromp. Can't quite find that as when it comes down in onto Wraith. Poke down. Still going to be relatively healthy, though, with the Alistar. Relic Shields still trading back and forth, so he'll be fine to stick around. And keep hugging that tier 2. Grace jumping in, trying to get that Paddle Star through. Takes quite a bit of damage from Deft. And we'll go ahead and see the Weaver's Wall thrown down here from Pawn as they try to open up this turret.
Weaver's Wall being thrown down. Already something we didn't see from Jin Air in the previous game, being used to cement objectives, not just as a teleport. Great use there by Pawn on the Taliyah.
Didn't have everybody there, and Ezreal not going to be the strongest. Got the Triforce procs, but aside from that, the general auto attacks aren't going to be doing a whole lot to the structures. But you can see the poke coming through is going to be pretty significant as Wraith barely gets clipped by that.
And it's just good news stories on the mini-map as well. 3 control wards in a straight line denying Jin Air from ever responding to bot side.
Oh,
Big
three-man
pulse,
pulverize coming through here. Devour comes down, Mata flashing away, does spit Deft out on the other side. He's cutting his way back, nearly kills Teddy, and forces out the heal. But there we go, Paddle Star from Grace finds his mark, takes out Deft. The follow-up with the counter-strike onto Mata. The bot lane of KT does get eliminated, and Grace, he's found these hits twice now in this game. Haven't seen that explosive performance like we expected from him that we saw in the series versus Kongdu, but he's finding the picks when it counts. It's allowing him to hold on for dear life.
And that gives them a grace period where there isn't going to be aggressive pushing from KT, where they can clear out the control wars that ruin their day in the bot side. So important. This is all started by Wraith. Really impressive there. He headbutted a minion and taxied it, flashed for the pulverize on 3. Surprised KT, who didn't die initially, but here comes the Paddle Star. Max range. Can't E out of that late. It's not a Blitzcrank hook. Sorry, Deft, you're dead. From there, Mata isn't even able to pop the Grey Health. For some reason, he's poking with Q. He dies. 2 free kills. It's not going to get Jin Air anywhere, but it's not going to put them further into the graveyard as well. And with how the game was playing out, with the fact that we said the fate wasn't in their own hands, it took something, a moment of brilliance from Grace, and now at least they live to fight another day.
I mean, if Grace can truly hit this point where he can one-shot an Ezreal like we've seen in the past.
That's quite a few death caps and other AP items away, but you're right.
Go for the old Jin Air strategy. Hold out as long as you possibly can, try to win the game after 40 minutes.
And he's probably got Gathering Storm. He took it earlier than this week, so you're right. There is the 40-minute win condition, the dream, but how much of the map will be gone, and will the game still be running at 40 minutes? That's the more pressing question.
Yeah. It's not seeming that way so far. Another Drake picked up there for KT. Ocean to go alongside with the Infernal, and it'll be another Ocean on the way as KT go ahead and take over complete control of the vision around the Baron.
Not complete control around the bot side any longer. Gangplank just taking Krugs and waiting for the minion wave to push in. Items are starting to be pieced together from the last time we checked. Shiv is there, but Vayne doesn't have Infinity Edge yet, so still, it's not a true threat. Decent items onto Grace, but nothing to write home about. And the Sterix Gauge finished for Gangplank, so a tankier build to try to just survive the laning phase against the Gnar. It's still not true threat onto Deft unless the Paddle Star is doing the brunt of the heavy lifting.
Trouble bubble onto Mata, and Deft is actually ready to body block the Paddle Star. Bold of him there with the Ezreal as we'll see the fight break out. Abyssal Voyage there from Mata. Here in the mid lane to get the seismic shove in on the Wraith. He goes low. Can they get the Devour? He's ready to die, and you see Mata, he doesn't want to take the kill. And once they hand it over to the carries, and Deft will be able to pick it up. Deft now trading back in onto Grace. Gets a couple hits, burns him down to about half HP, and KT will finally take out that inner turret in mid as Smeb goes in for the exchange here onto SoHwan right before that Mega Gnar expires. Works him down low, has him slowed up. They're going to be looking for the finish onto the GP. Flashes to the other side. Seismic shove comes through. Buddy's got the stopwatch to stay alive for a little bit longer. There's no way for him to get out. He goes down. Ultimate connects in onto UmTi. Takes a leap strike, a short one to the side.
Deep.
Dives in, charges for it, pops him up. The counter strike buys a little bit more time, but he will inevitably fall as Pawn finds the kill. And KT are just charging through the base. Not a care in the world.
I mean, they just gave Grace nothing while Grace was trying to clear minions and take blue. They took basically everything in their base. Turret diving, reckless abandon From there, they're going to run straight to Baron. Nothing Grace is going to be able to do to really contest this. Still not 2 items on Teddy. Katie looking to ice the game with a Baron.
Yep, Grace has got the TP ready to go. We'll go ahead and cast that one out.
With UmTi dead, they have to start a fight soon.
He's a siege mage. Even getting the pokes out here is not going to do a whole lot. They do find one on the Smeb. 3-man pulverize coming through for Wraith yet again as the Baron goes low, but the smite is there from Score. They take it away. Smeb going to jump over the wall. Deft following suit. Will get themselves out alive. And it seems like Score might be left for dead. He will go down. 2 members picked up as Mata and Score fall. But still 3 Baron buffs there for KT. They take the buff for themselves, and now they can start working their way towards the inhibitors.
No clean exit plan for KT, but a clean Baron take plan for KT Rolster. Score was waiting for his Arctic Assault to come off cooldown, went golden, but then you just stand on top of him. He doesn't have the ability to jump over a wall if there's a body blocker, so good positioning from Wraith and friends. They get a couple of kills, but what does it mean in terms of item completions? Desperately need the Vayne to accelerate her way to infinity. She'll have it now, but need more than that. You need the extra zeal. Needed this to be a cleanup quadra kill for the Vayne. As, well, Pawn just wants to kill SoHwan.
Yeah, looking for the pick there. Slows him up. Seismic Shove not going to connect this time around, and Deft is still wrapping his way in. Seems like they might just abandon the chase.
Gets Derek's Gauge, but nothing else from that particular rush. Pawn's going to back. Could just switch over to the teleport, but not in any rush. They go back to pushing. Out of top lane turret is alive. All the turrets are alive for KT Rolster. 8,000 gold ahead, and the 4 turrets certainly one of the reasons for that lead.
Yeah.
Jin Air opted into this. They could have gone for a lot more lane presence, but Teddy saw stars in his eyes and went for the Vayne. When combined with Gangplank, I feel like Gangplank and Vayne is too far into the late game, as blue buff is confirmed by Grace that time.
Not this time, Deft. Tries to go for another cheeky little steal. It's not going to happen.
The what-ifs look very unlikely to happen. The fairy tale of the late game, Gangplank and Vayne, is probably never going to be truly told, as KT continue to play the map, very aggressively pushing across all 3 lanes.
Teddy doing his damnedest, but he's 2 items in. Doesn't have the power that he needs to chunk out Score and Smeb as they start jumping into his face pawn. Got the Banshee's Veil. Be very happy about that one as he takes that paddle star to the face.
Start to walk up. Already a lot of damage on Teddy.
And the shield comes down and instantly gets taken out by another Mystic shot there. Shot Barrage will just get tossed out. For good measure, just trying to keep the wave contained inside the base. That pressure up onto the inhibitor here.
Deft being a huge jerk. Touches the way on Ezreal against Vayne. And knows his role in this matchup, and they'll just move to the minion wave. Take the last inner turret of the game. 6-0 in a turret score. Huge lead. KT finally cresting 10,000 gold. All Jin Air can do is say, well, we still have our base. We still have not had an inhibitor cracked. That might take the next Baron. 35 seconds left on the current.
On just keeping that bot wave moved up. Scoring to back him up. Trying to get the siege going here. Not quite a full court press. Minions are pushing in the mid lane, but the rest of KT just working their way down towards the bottom. Smeb going to be containing SoHwan for the time being. Seismic Shove comes through. Wraith chunked down to half already, as is the turret.
Paddle stars on the minion wave aren't going to wave clear. That means KT can walk up unless Deft is chunked out. Started blocking himself with this siege minion. So waiting for the next and final minion wave. They think they want to ice the turret. The Weaver's Wall on point from Pawn as well.
Turret goes down. Score just pulling up into the front line. The lockdown and carry if he can. Double bubble not going to hit anybody. Battlestar will clear out the minions, but KT, they don't need them in order to finish this off. The inhibitor will be falling here. 27.5 minutes just about in. It's a slow, methodical choking out of Jin Air, I suppose.
After a slow, methodical defense of a team that was trying to get the maximum out of a split push. So, very different identities for KT Rolster in this particular series, and Jin Air also having to go from being an aggressor to being on the defensive side. KT have definitely got the maximum out of their lead, though. Whenever we see these Weaver's Walls having high impact, but not necessarily just carrying Pawn into a fight, we wonder what could have been if Grace was more proactive and the team was more proactive in setting up around the ability to deny engage that the Weaver's Wall can also provide. Ocean Drake is Not going to actually force the spawn of an Elder. We're too early for that one, so an Infernal will show up, which is happy news.
Feels like this game has been going on for a while, just because the inhibitors have been broken and how long it took for that to happen in the last one. But yeah, not even 30 minutes into this one, so still one more Drake to be spawned. Seems like double Ocean, double Infernal here for KT, unless Jin Air can really turn something around.
Does seem unlikely.
Yep.
Vayne's so far behind in items that making this work against very close to a 6-item Ezreal. So Teddy pace here towards the 6 items. Only the more Malmorti's completion away from 6 items is Deft.
Certainly hurting Teddy's average CS per minute.
Might actually be down. Might actually be missing minions finally.
Yep.
Teddy Horizon cannot be opened up over Deft.
I don't think Deft is going to be in any position to open up a Teddy Horizon over Teddy either.
No.
Too significant.
And the game's probably going to end before that's going to happen. I can't see 70 minutes being added here. Had some miracles.
Oh, well, that's going to be Grace
Look
jumping into Deft, but he's just going to go aggressive, almost finishes him off, forces the flash out of the Zoe, says, you want to jump in my face? I will do just that to you.
AD carry players around the world felt such a rush of blood there, seeing Deft go aggressive onto the Zoe. No one-shots on this Ezreal.
A Freak feels vindicated as Deft goes into the melee range. Wraith now getting chunked out. Will get Seismic shoved back in. It looks like he is just going to get melted as Smeb finds the kill. Score taking the turret here for the moment as he gets knocked down below half HP, and Smeb running amok into the back line, chunking out UmTi, nearly finishing him off and threatening with that Mega Gnar.
Whole time they could tank up the turret. We knew that from before when the turret died 5 minutes ago. Inhibitor number 1 rolls down with the side of Jin Air. Nothing they can do. No engage. Wraith is dead. No cannon barrage used. They should probably use it to delay these minions, but they're just giving it up.
Turret's all going to fall. Every inhibitor taken now by KT as they try to finish this one off. SoHwan getting chunked down here by Pawn. Seems like KT still going to play this one a bit slowly as they start retreating. Have a Baron
Teddy
spawning in 10 seconds. Now looking for Teddy. True Shot Barrage not going to clip the Vayne. KT looks like they're just going to go ahead and resume backing off.
They got what they came for. 3 inhibitors down for Jin Air. We said that before, and it did lead to a victory for Jin Air, but in such different circumstances. What we're seeing now, 3 items onto Teddy, will be 6 items onto Deft when he backs. Baron buff going to be uncontested. Now it's going to steal away a red buff. No resources left for Jin Air GreenWings, and we wait for the shop and the inevitable end. Baron buff power play should close the game.
Yep. And you have to say, I mean, the best score line here on the side of Jin Air is Grace 3-0-1 with the Zoe, but hasn't really been doing much. He's hit a couple of those paddle stars to chunk out members of KT, but that was forever ago. We have had the same score, for several minutes there. Finally, somebody dying, so it's 6-10 instead of 6 to something else.
And games like this are supposed to be the counterpoint to, the Zoe is overpowered trend. I think Paddlestar does too many things, but I don't necessarily think the damage needs to go down. I'm in the camp that it needs to do less damage to minions to stop her from roaming, because in this game, KT as a whole stopped the Zoe from roaming. She's had in mid lane and wave clear. She's not really a side lane champion, and KT won the game around Zoe. We never really mentioned her name because she wasn't consequential in this game.
Oh, there's
Speaking of Zoe.
Yet again, getting chunked out. True Shot Barrage comes through. He goes really low. His score tries to fish for the ultimate to finish her off, but can't quite find it. So Grace very well may end this game deathless, but has had a very lackluster performance compared to his former one. Weaver's Wall coming through, cutting off a couple members here. Teddy contained on the other side as Smeb threatens in the sidelines. The lockdown comes in, and that's going to be Grace getting popped this time around. Cannot escape as a double kill comes through for Smeb. Pushes everybody into the wallop. Takes him down, feeds a double kill straight over onto Deft, and UmTi can do nothing but watch. He'll get finished off right at the end. Triple kill to Deft to finish things off. The kills exploding for the final ace, and KT will just go ahead and clear out the final map there. 2-0 over to them.
And we always know with KT Rolster in this iteration, when the early game goes their way is when they're most comfortable. Doesn't mean they always win, but this was one of those games where they iced it early. It felt like they were always one step ahead, even 2 steps ahead of Jin Air, and the Zoe was left stranded. That's what can happen against Zoe. Her snowball is disgusting, but when she's behind, she can be a passenger. Ended up being a passenger here. KT tanking inhibitor turrets very early into the game with how wantonly tanky the Sejuani ended up being. Sejuani, one of the best ways to answer a Zoe just because of the Paddle Star's predictability, so the ultimate predictability on the portal jump. Jin Air were taken down 2-0. We wondered how good Jin Air, it seems closer to 2017 than perhaps they would want to be. In 2017, they were able to beat up on the lower teams, but struggled to actually take out the top 3, the top 4. Those top 4 aspirations, that 4th spot aspirations, take a pretty big hit as they are significantly behind KT Rolster based on today's evidence.
Yeah. Bout falling down around Kongdu Monster there with a -1 scoreline, and KT going to be moving up, I believe, to tie with KSV for that second place spot. So, yet again, this squad, the one put together to beat SK Telecom to win the World Championship, they're rising up steadily, but there's still many other teams that they have to beat if they want to be the best.
And they may have a new enemy, right? Because next Wednesday will be Kingzone Dragon X versus KT Rolster. And Kingzone kind of are in that SKT position as the targets, as the standings lie right now, as the team to beat. So that is going to be one that I think everyone around the world should tune in for. It should be a fantastic match next Wednesday. For KT, for this week, their first appearance, very good. Game 2 especially, super clean. And Game 1, you know, in different scenarios, never having that kind of solo queue mistake where one person dives in too far and accelerates the loss. Smeb fell behind, but they didn't actually have that really affect them, even after 3 turrets went down to the Trundle. That's why you see good spirits from KT Rolster. Their fans should be happy. Today was a good performance by KT Rolster.
Yeah, and you can see there, Deft with his Ezreal well over 1,000 DPM. 38,500 in 32 minutes and 53 seconds. Absolutely bonkers amount of damage in the Zoe and the Vayne, leaving a lot to be desired. 13K and 8,000 there for Teddy. Really rough stuff here in game number 2 for Jin Air. Just couldn't get the ball rolling.
Yeah, very even draft in terms of what the late game could look like, but unfortunately the Gangplank and Vayne proved a bridge too far for the side of Jin Air GreenWings. Their scaling ended up being very well punished by KT Rolster in this game. Deft did all the damage. Deft will take the MVP, and we get another bot lane interview with KT Rolster.
I'm sure Deft is going to be happy about that. Having his support by him, as he's very soft-spoken, help him through that interview as we get ready for it, and that is going to put Deft in a 4-way tie alongside Khan, Teddy, and Kuro. So, really kind of building up, bottling up at the top of the standings here. We have to see who is going to be the breakout star. Teddy, this was his chance today, but couldn't find the victories.
No, I mean, the 2v2 laning phase, big win to Deft and Mata this time out. Teddy really couldn't do anything. He was very well corralled. Game 1, he was just supposed to kind of get through things there after there was so much sent by KT bot side. Wasn't able to do that. Game 2, Deft hit 6 items at 31 minutes, and on Ezreal with a cheaper build, he was still so far ahead of the Vayne that Vayne could never do anything. Great roams by Pawn this game.
Yeah, I have to give him that shout out.
Apologies to Pawn, who was really on point with his map movement, and so were KT. So often we saw mini maps like this where control wards were down. There never was too many good decisions. There was a Gangplank, you wouldn't have known it. He was never on the screen after being turret dived early in the game. KT Rolster, a 2-0, like you say, equal game score with KSV, 1 game score behind Kingzone, and
the MVP winning play.
Yep.
That's what seals the deal right there. We won't show the blue buff mishap.
No.
But this right here,
oh, yeah,
going aggressive on the Grace, just as soon as he sees the jump in, just matching it, shifting slightly to the side with the arcane shift, just maximizing his damage output. Beautiful stuff by Pawn, or by Deft there. And I mean, showing no fear in the face of that Zoe.
I mean, Deft may have a spirit animal in the alpaca, but he certainly has the champion that he loves in the Ezreal that he pilots just as well as the other megastars here in Korea. Nice ultimate by Smeb on the wall to try to get them a few more kills. But yep, the bot lane. These guys always are fun to talk to as a duo. Let's see what they have to ask them.
All right, well, Joel Discord is back here today, so Joel, go ahead and take us through this wonderful interview with KT's bot lane.
Thank you very much, guys. This is Joel with your interview once again. We're here with KT Rolster, picking up a relatively easy 2-0 this time around. And we're going to have the MVP interview with the most valuable players of this series. We're going to have the KT bot duo, Deft and Mata, here for the interview. KT Rolster's winning formula in Deft and Mata. Right now, you guys are very high up in the rankings. How do you feel?
오랜만에 이제 연승을 하는 거라.
I think we haven't
괜찮은 것 같아요.
experienced a consecutive win in quite a while, so I'm feeling very happy about that. It feels like everything's going right for KT at the moment with all the team morale looking very positive. Do you feel like you're feeling a lot better nowadays?
네, 괜찮은 것 같아요.
I think it's alright.
괜찮은 것 같습니다.
He feels alright. That is what he said. So we're good to go on that one.
이 선수들의 열기 때문에 굉장히 더웠다고 해요.
And of course, we did say that, you know, even during this cold winter, the heat coming from all the passion from the players was made the actual room a bit hot, is what I heard.
선수가 이 경기에 그 죽은 장면 때문에 다른 그 스맵 선수나 스코어 선수는 좀 달아올랐는데.
Yeah, I think Smeb and Score got really hot when they saw their teammates die out in a most unfortunate circumstances that raised their body temperature a little bit. So,
척기만 봐달라고 해요.
but altogether, it was all about Deft at the end. You know, who's the hottest player on that team.
그래서 이제 KT가 오랜만에 사실 오늘 경기에 나섰습니다.
And KT Rolster having almost a week off now, having come after a long break. How did you feel today's game?
네, 준비할 때 힘든 과정도 있긴 했는데.
There was a lot of struggles in the preparations for this game, but
오늘처럼 계속.
I think if we can repeat what we did today, we should be good to go for the rest of the season.
이렇게 준비를 열심히 했음에도 불구하고 1세트에서 상대가 굉장히 좀 날카로운.
And we felt like even through your hard preparation, it felt like game one wasn't much of a smooth sailing for you guys. Guys had a little bit of struggle in the middle of that.
초반에 저희가 동선을 잘못 잡아가지고.
I think it was a kind of a pre-planned strategy that didn't go correct for the early game, and we had to make a lot of adjustments after some of the pre-planned strategy did not work out, and we made adjustments accordingly, and I think it was good to go to end out game one.
또 스맵 선수는 팀원들에게 또 어떤 말을 했는지.
I wonder what Smeb was talking about during the early game when he did die out quite a bit, because it just felt like, you know, KT's plan coming in probably wasn't to make that kind of a result.
정호 형은 뭐 자기 멘탈 괜찮다고.
Smeb said his mentality wasn't shattered, so we trusted that that was the truth, and we just kept on going with it. Definitely an experienced player in Smeb did keep that game going, but in game one, Smeb had a tough time, but bot lane was having a blast for KT Rolster. And right now, do you still feel like you're the shot caller in the bot lane?
제가 좀 더 공격적인 픽이면은 제가 좀.
You know, I think it all depends on champions that we choose. But if we get the more offensive tools available, I might like to make the more offensive shot calling. Let's look at one of those highlights that KT Rolster showed to pick out a good advantage in game one. Definitely wasn't an easy game for you guys. It felt like things could have went wrong here, especially in this team fight.
솔직히 지금 장면에서는 조금 벙쪄가지고 이거 칼리 갑자기.
You know, we in this situation we actually didn't have much confidence that we're gonna win this one, but it really was a big effort to just get even in trade in this specific team fight, and that was really, it was a really graceful thing that, you know, we actually got even after that team fight. And what is the kind of the standard of laning with the mod right now?
지속하면은 무조건 이길 수 있을 때는 가는데.
You know, it's kind of a thing where, you know, if you have a Kalista and an Alistar and you do get a good first start in the initiate, then you can just keep going with a lot of confidence. And he did get an MVP in game 2 with the Ezreal. And we actually saw ultimate being used by your Ezreal to pick up the enemy red buff from range. If you do have that clip available, if you see right here. And this is something that a lot of people try but don't actually get. How did you predict that coming?
이번 판도 보면은 저거 한 번밖에 못 뺏어서.
I mean, come on. I mean, I only stole it once, so you know you're making too big of a deal out of it. It's not like I stole like 5 times in that one game. I think it's you try over and over again. One of the times it works out.
그렇게 디테일하게는 안 하고 그냥.
I mean, it's not really a detailed train of thought of me trying to calculate the timing or anything. It's just like I feel like it's coming and I feel like it's the right timing and that's the way you do it.
동물적인 감각이 좋은 것 같아요.
I think it's the animal instincts that Deft has, if I can say for myself. And
팀원을 그래서 최근에 KT가 좀 이렇게 승리를 많이 가져가고
And of course, KT Rolster feeling good about getting all these wins recently. And it seems like the bot duo that KT Rolster is centered around at the moment is kind of the steamroller pushing this team forward.
보통 연습에서는 좀 다른 팀원들이 그러니까 좀 역할을
I mean, during practice, a lot of our other teammates take the big role of carrying down the team to victory, but it just seems like during competitive play, it feels like our bot duo has a good synergy going that helps carry the team to victory. And we felt like it wasn't the most comfortable win, even if it might have seemed so. It was a lot of fight, a good fight back coming from Jin Air to rival edges here.
일단 저희가 처음에 궁 Q만 빗나가면은 제가 무조건 이겨서.
I mean, it's a situation where you get the ultimate and Q intact. If you get the damage output from that one, you're never gonna lose out a trade. So we just feel confident every time we did. Every time we did it, and obviously had to back off on that one. And of course, a clean 2-0 victory for you, KT Rolster. And would you like to say anything to fans who have continually cheered you on?
아직 1라운드가
We still have a lot of games left in round 1, and there's no reason for us to get complacent off of these consecutive wins, and we want to extend this consecutive win streak even further. And we thank you for your support. Anything from Deft? Feels like you were laughing at Deft motto as he was making his comments. We still have a lot of strong teams that we have to beat, and we'll try our best to beat them all. Simple words from Deft. And that will be the end of the interview with KT's bot duo, who has been on fire recently, getting another 2-0 win against Jin Air GreenWings with KT Rolster. And back to you guys.
Deft the Modest Alpaca, nice little children's book for anyone who wants to write that one. But yeah, not too strong of words, but knows that he has stiff opposition coming up shortly to try to claim that first place spot here in the LCK. But the 2-0 win over Jin Air, a team who has been kind of on the up and coming. They've had their bumps here and there, but getting that victory there was a good telling for KT Rolster. They did it concisely, they did it methodically, and they will go ahead and tie themselves up with KSV in second place.
Kingzone, KT Rolster, KSV. They seem to be our trendsetters so far in the LCK. Our second match of the night, though, is about the most surprising development so far of LCK 2018.
Bottom of the barrel matchup.
Well, it's, there's a lot of different things. If you're not an SKT fan, you can say nasty things about the predicament SKT find themselves in. I think the current fans will say this needs to be a 2-0 for them. It needs to be a comfortable one and needs to herald a new bloom for SKT. Very interesting to see what their roster is also. Who's playing? Yep. Is Wolf going to find his way to the jungle or to the support role? A lot of question marks about SK Telecom. It's been 6 days since we've seen them on the Rift, as they were obliterated by Kingzone Dragon X. Where they're at here, it has to be a comfortable victory over MVP, right? Right?
I mean, if you're, yeah, you would have to say that. If you're an anarchist, then you certainly want MVP to win this one, and to really just confuse the hell out of everybody who expects SK Telecom to make it back up into the playoffs, maybe make another run from wildcard into the final. But
they have to get to the wildcard match.
If they struggle here, then I don't think the wildcard match is even going to be achieved, let alone moving past it. So it's going to be very telling for SKT's current state, depending on how this goes.
Yeah, so much to show, so much expectation. They got to start now.
And so much break. We've got about 45 minutes until that match kicks off. So we'll see you guys back. Just keep your eyes on the timer. And we'll see you there for MVP versus SKT.
Coming up next, MVP. SK Telecom T1. Beginning of the end. 2018 League of Legends Champions Korea Spring Split.